Chapter 31. This is the light for my path. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations, UB ** starred. How dare you hit me in the eye? Whoop. Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang were both on top of each other, exchanging blows. Fraud Tian's heart was crumbling. How did this even happen? It was $1 million. Why won't Lin Fan accept it? But what he did not know was that if Lin Fan did accept the money, he would have been struck by lightning immediately. This was all Lin Fan's doing. If only Lin Fan had not offered free trial fortune-telling services on Weibo. He would definitely have pocketed the $1 million offered to him by Wang Mingyang, but it was too late. Break it up. Break it up. 2 police cars pulled up at the scene. They had received reports from the people at the scene of a fight that broke out. The police officers immediately went forward to pull the 2 apart. Bedo dem, what is the meaning of all of this? A slightly plump police officer shouted. He's so retarded. Wang Mingyang said. You're the one with issues. Lin Fan refuted. With all the tension between the 2, it looked like another fight could break out. The situation didn't look good with the crowd gathering around the 2 fighting people. The police officers standing at the sides questioned a few of the crowd to figure out what had happened. Officer, that guy wanted to give the boss of this shop $1 million, but the boss refused, so they started fighting. The police officer took down a few notes and processed what he just heard. Why, you're not kidding, are you? I'm not. If you don't believe me, just ask anyone else. Yes, it's true. I personally think that both of them have mental problems. I honestly thought these situations only happened in the movies. I guess there's a first for everything. What can I say? The world is full of surprises. The police officer who was taking down statements from people in the crowd couldn't comprehend what was going on. Were the 2 people just joking? What kind of person doesn't accept money offered to him? He turned to another police officer and whispered in his ear. The other officer nodded. Bring them all in. The 2 servants who worked for Wang Mingyang got into the car and heaved a sigh. The driver started following the police car back to the station. No matter how rich or powerful their boss was, he was still subject to the law. Fraud Tian, take care of my shop while I'm gone. Lin Fan could have never imagined having such a problem on his first day of opening his shop. What bad luck. The crowd dissipated after Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang were ferried off to the police station. Whatever happened today was completely out of the blue. At the police station, Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang sat on the wooden bench, brooding. Their clothes were completely torn and their faces were bruised and bloody. Ow! Both of them grimaced in pain after the adrenaline of the fight wore off. You were really aggressive, Wang Mingyang said as he put his hand against his bruised cheek. You weren't too far off yourself. Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang's eyes looked like a panda's. The fight that happened was too violent. No one present could pull them apart. I have met so many different kinds of people in my career, but this is an absolute first. Wang Mingyang found it weird that someone would reject the offer of 100,000. If that wasn't stupid, he didn't know what it was. From the fight, Wang Mingyang realized that although the Lin Fan was young, his temper was absolutely barbaric, just like his own temper. So as the Chinese idiom goes, an exchange of blows may lead to friendship, and it was true for the 2. I have also never met another person like you in my whole life, Lin Fan said as he panted with rage. Do you believe me now? I told you just now that you would have blood on your head, and indeed it really did happen. Ah, Master Lin, did you also count on yourself to have the same fate? Wang Mingyang remarked. Just as the 2 were bickering amongst themselves, the police officers came in. They were completely clueless about the situation as it absolutely defied their logic. Whatever the people in the crowd said was indeed correct, that one offered money and the other declined, and the two started fighting. But they were wondering why. Both of you, would you rather settle this privately or bring this to the court? If this was brought up, it wouldn't be a big problem. Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang also didn't want to complicate matters. Furthermore, Wang Mingyang was one of the biggest entrepreneurs in Shanghai and was worth billions of dollars. It would definitely affect his reputation. Even if he was his own boss, he still had to be courteous to everyone. I'll follow whatever procedure there is, Lin Fan said. Let's settle the issue privately, Wang Mingyang said. At that very instant, their eyes met, and their tone immediately changed. I'll settle things privately, said the agitated Lin Fan. I'll follow the law, Wang Mingyang butted in. The police officers in charge didn't know how to handle them. One of the officers finally butted in sternly, you guys better discuss and resolve this. No rush. Then we'll settle this privately, both Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang chirped at the same time. This is only a small problem. You guys just sign some papers and we'll get you out of here, the officer said as he handed them some forms. Lin Fan brushed himself off after signing the papers as he prepared to leave the police station. He had to find a hospital to buy some antibiotics. His opponent was too rough on him and he decided to lay low for a while. He would definitely become a laughing stock if people were to see him in such a state. At the police station entrance, Wang Mingyang turned his head back. This bastard is the first person to embarrass me in public. I will remember this incident. Remember this face. Wang Mingyang, CEO of Donghan Corporation. Lin Fan looked at Wang Mingyang and gave him a huge grin. What are you saying? I thought we already settled this. This is me acknowledging you. You have character. We can be friends. Count yourself blessed to be friends with me. I am the iron-mouthed fortune teller. Life and death rest on my tongue. Clapping sound, both of them shook hands. They had finally reconciled with each other. I'll be making my move. I'll fight you again if I were to get another opportunity like this. Wang Mingyang waved back at Lin Fan as he got into his car. After the car left, Lin Fan heaved a sigh of pain. His wounds were still stinging. He wished that the next encyclopedia would contain a section on fighting, that way he could beat anyone to a pulp the next time he got into this situation again. Just as Lin Fan started his car, 2 police cars pulled up next to him. Lin Fan didn't even notice. However, one of the police officers noticed him. Little boss, the voice was ominous. Lin Fan turned his head as he heard himself being called. He was stunned. Chief Lu. Little boss, where have you been up to? And what happened to your face? Lu Xiaotian was nothing but excitement as he saw Lin Fan. He was craving for his scallion's pancakes. Don't ask too much. I got into a fight with some bugger, and things have been resolved. But why did you change jobs, Chief Lu? Lin Fan found it weird to see Lu Xiaotian wearing the police uniform. It's all thanks to you. If not for you, I would have never gotten my dream job. Lu Xiaotian grinned. It really was all because of Lin Fan. Lu Xiaotian was commended by the top management of the police force after the incident went on the news. After that incident, everything fell into place for him. He met the chief of police at a dinner banquet and ended up getting drunk. Lu Xiaotian received a job offer from the chief of police the very next day, offering to transfer him from the city council to the police department. He was directly promoted to division head since he already had more than 10 years of working experience at the city council. Although he didn't have a lot of power, Lu Xiaotian was more than content with what he got. Congratulations to you, Chief Lu. But you look rather worried and preoccupied now. Are you currently handling a case that you can't crack? How did you know? Lu Xiaotian's eyes widened in surprise. About that, I opened a fortune-telling business in Cloud Street and I specialize in reading people's fortunes, Lin Fan smiled as he explained. Lu Xiaotian was stunned and a little confused. Fortune-telling. Chief Lu, can you let me see the sheet of paper that you're holding? Lin Fan asked. The sheet of paper that Lu Xiaotian held was an arrest warrant for a criminal wanted for murder. However, the case had already been going on for some time, and the murderer had managed to evade the police. His whereabouts were unknown. The higher-ranking officers were pressing for the case to be solved as quickly as possible, and Chief Lu worked day and night to crack the case, scouring for information leads to no avail. Lu Xiaotian passed the sheet of paper to Lin Fan. Chief Lu, if you'd listen to me, you can try looking around under the Long Heavens Bridge. You might find something interesting over there, Lin Fan said as he analyzed the document. Chapter 32. A dash of green in the sun rays. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Lu Xiaotian stood there stunned as Lin Fan left. Long Heavens Bridge. Lu Xiaotian couldn't understand why Lin Fan would tell him that. He tried to make sense of it, with much hesitation and doubt. Chief, you can't really trust these fortune-tellers. They're all con-artists, said the officer who was in the car. Since when could one use fortune-telling to catch criminals? If the chief of the police force found out about it, there was no telling what he would do. A civil servant believing in pseudoscience was absurd. If it was made known to the public, it would definitely affect the image of the police force. Lu Xiaotian immediately got into the passenger seat of the police car. Let's go to Long Heavens Bridge. Chief, can we really trust him? A few of the policemen asked. It isn't too late yet. Even if there isn't anything there, it's still worth a look. Although Lu Xiaotian didn't believe in fortune-telling, he knew that if he didn't take Lin Fan's advice, he probably wouldn't be able to sleep that night. Long Heavens Bridge. One of the first ever bridges to be constructed in Shanghai, it connected the two sides of the Long River. It was also known as Beggars' Bridge as there was a community of beggars who settled under the bridge. Under the bridge, a man in dirty tattered clothes sat at a corner. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His name was Qin Chuan and he disguised himself as a beggar to escape detection from the law after committing a spate of murders. Hiding had proven to be a difficult task with all the high-tech surveillance methods. However, Qin Chuan had an ingenious method to escape detection, one which was undetected by the police. Hence, he couldn't use his own identity anymore. So in order to find a way to escape, he had to temporarily hide and lay low under Long Heavens Bridge with a group of beggars in order to fool the authorities. Have you seen this guy before? Qin Chuan was resting when suddenly, he heard some noises. He was stricken with panic. As he lifted his head upwards to see what the commotion was, he saw a few police officers questioning the resident beggars one by one. Why on earth would they come here to investigate? Qin Chuan's heart was pounding with fear, but he forced himself to calm down as he analyzed the situation. Chief, why would Qin Chuan be hiding here out of all places? The air under the bridge was extremely stinky and repugnant, so much so that all of the officers lost their sense of smell. Furthermore, there were so many beggars. It was going to take a long time to interview all the beggars. Yeah, if I were Qin Chuan, I would never hide here, the other police officer commented. Which is precisely why the least expected place is the most probable place. Qin Chuan is extremely intuitive. According to our investigations, he was a psychologist at one point. He has a much better grasp on human behavior than we do. Although Lu Xiaotian formerly worked for the city council, he was trained in behavioral science. At one point he wanted to become a police officer but due to personal reasons, he chose to work for the city council. Lu Xiaotian had a feeling that his years of experience and training would be of use today as a police officer. As he scanned the area, Lu Xiaotian found the place peculiar. However, the day was getting dark. It was going to be difficult to continue with the investigation. Chief, it's getting dark. If we're going to continue interviewing every single one of them, we're probably not going to get anything much. We probably won't even recognize Qin Chuan even if we were talking face to face with him, the other police officer said. Why don't we come back tomorrow and do a proper investigation? Lu Xiaotian considered in silence. What he said did make sense. At that very moment, Lu Xiaotian saw from afar a figure standing up, slowly walking away with his back facing them. That silhouette. Qin Chuan. Lu Xiaotian bellowed. The silhouette shuddered for an instant. Before Lu Xiaotian knew it, the person started making a run for it. Qin Chuan didn't expect to be recognized that easily. What he did not know was that Lu Xiaotian and his crew were already planning to leave. Get him. Lu Xiaotian was 100% sure that the person who was running away from them was definitely Qin Chuan. The B** running away from us is a criminal wanted by the law. Don't let him escape. The distance between Lu Xiaotian and Qin Chuan was rather large. If everything went smoothly for Qin Chuan, there was a chance that he might even get away. Qin Chuan was blocked by a few beggars ahead of him. Lu Xiaotian did not expect them to be of any help to him, but he still reminded them as it would still have been better than nothing. Out of my way! Qin Chuan screamed at the beggars in front of him. The beggars were all stunned. But just as Qin Chuan was about to pass them, one of the beggars stuck his leg out, causing Qin Chuan to trip and fall. The surrounding beggars gathered and pinned him to the ground. That's right. Lu Xiaotian was ecstatic. After the police officers cuffed and took Qin Chuan in, Lu Xiaotian went up to thank the beggars. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done this without you guys. Thanks to you guys, we've caught a very dangerous serial killer. I can't thank you guys enough. The three beggars were already in their 60s and 70s, and their faces were full of wrinkles. You don't have to thank us. It was a pleasure to help the police force. This criminal would also be an embarrassment to us beggars if he stayed on, the beggars smiled. After that, the three beggars went back under the bridge. Lu Xiaotian had a lot of things to settle, but after listening to the beggars, he stood there in silence, in awe and shock. Beggars helping us. How embarrassing. Let go of me. Qin Chuan raged as he ferociously tugged at the handcuffs. Qin Chuan, I really didn't expect you to hide here. Lu Xiaotian heaved a sigh of relief, and thought of Lin Fan. His heart was full of suspicion. How did Lin Fan know that Qin Chuan was hiding here? How did you even find me here? Qin Chuan was dumbfounded. He couldn't think of any reason how he was traced to this location. That's a secret. Lu Xiaotian laughed confidently, but deep down, he was full of amazement and wonder. Even if he were to tell people how he solved the case, who would ever believe him? As the other police officers got Qin Chuan into the car, they suddenly thought back to the conversation between Lin Fan and Chief Lu outside the police station. They were absolutely awestruck and lost for words. Chief, that youngster really managed to predict this correctly. Gosh! That fortune teller was actually able to figure out where the criminal was. If this isn't a miracle, I don't know what it is. Upon hearing the conversation between the police officers, he too was dumbfounded. I got ratted out by a fortune teller. At that moment, Lin Fan had just reached home. Sigh, it never rains but pours, Lin Fan said dejectedly. Reality is so cruel. My fortune-telling ability is dead accurate, yet I barely have any customers. Encyclopedia's second task. Be a well-respected divine fortune teller. When he first started, he thought that it was going to be easy, but things weren't looking so good now. No. I must take action. I can't keep one waiting for gold to drop from the sky. There's only one way of getting famous now, I have to use the internet. Lin Fan was all set for his next move. He immediately opened up Weibo and scoured through thousands of profiles looking for celebrities. The first one shall be you. The picture of a male celebrity appeared on his screen. Chen Yu, an old school singer. His songs were popular and widely listened to. Lin Fan was familiar with this celebrity. One could say that Lin Fan grew up listening to his songs. He had over 400,000 followers on Weibo. It wasn't the most, but it wasn't little either. But the most important factor was that this bugger had a huge scandal. Lin Fan didn't notice his domineering composure, but noticed the sun rays shining directly on his forehead in the picture while reading his fortune. It resulted in a green light shining on him. Lin Fan immediately got to work and started typing a few paragraphs of fortune readings. Chapter 33. My Weibo exploded. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations, it's as if there's a vast green plane over the top of your head. Do you want to know what Master Lin's fortune reading is for you? This sentence seemed perfectly logical for Lin Fan. It was simple and easy to understand even for a handicapped. No problem at all. Most of the Weibo profiles that Lin Fan scrolled through did not meet his requirement, and so he continued the grind. He continued to filter through the profiles. After searching for a while, Lin Fan found a runway model with a huge fan base. She had a nice figure and was undeniably beautiful. She was Zhou Li Yun, an internationally acclaimed supermodel. But Lin Fan could tell that she had a rather miserable day based on her newest post. 5 days away from Fashion Weekend, I need to give my best. As Lin Fan was scrolling through the comments, he saw that were all encouraging messages to cheer her on. I've read your fortune, you won't be able to make it. Lin Fan's negative comment was so obvious in the sea of positive ones. Lin Fan waited to see what would happen. He continued to scroll through more profiles, looking for celebrities who had tragic backstories. Lin Fan had managed to find another celebrity. She had over 100 million followers and was one of the biggest superstars of her time. She had acted in many blockbuster films and had gotten several awards for her role in the films. She was literally standing at the pinnacle of the entertainment industry. Wang Bingyan was the female goddess that countless males could only dream of. Even Lin Fan watched a few of her movies and was deeply captivated by her. After all, many people would focus on an actor with good looks, especially such a famous actor like her. Huda's newest movie, The Unspoken Tomorrow, has a very talented female lead. Hope all of you can support her. Huda was one of the country's leading directors. He had directed many famous movies and had a pretty good international acclaim as a director as well. Huda said, Bing Yan, you worked that part. The role suits you a lot. She was also a hot topic of discussion amongst netizens. But for Lin Fan, it was time to show off his skills. Master Lin has read your fortune. This movie won't be a success for you. The lead actress is a woman with the surname Yang. Although Lin Fan's comment was just one of the 10,000, its negativity stood out and all the fans naturally became defensive of her. After that, Lin Fan continued scrolling through more celebrities, all with different backgrounds, including football players and even table tennis athletes. Master Lin has read your fortune, you will definitely lose the next match. Master Lin has read your fortune. You will be hospitalized. Master Lin has read your fortune. You will be beaten. At this point, Lin Fan had already lost track of how many fortunes he had read for the celebrities. All the fortunes predicted by Lin Fan were all negative. When he looked up at the time, it was already 1 a.m. in the morning. 4 hours had passed so quickly. Before Lin Fan knew it, he was already overwhelmed with fatigue. I didn't think I would do this many in one sitting, and I don't know if I'll get smitten by the public for saying so many negative things. Lin Fan smiled. The best thing that could happen was for people to focus on his comments. He just had to wait for the fortunes to come to pass. Only then, everything would work out for him as planned. Time to sleep. While Lin Fan was sleeping, the netizens who were night owls were on Weibo and they were looking at their favorite celebrities. A user with the nickname Autumn Sword Fish Killer had accessed Wang Bingyan's Weibo page. She was his favorite celebrity and her smile gave him tingles down his spine. Autumn Sword Fish Killer discreetly slid down his pants and prepared the tissue paper in front of his computer. A minute later, Autumn Sword Fish Killer discreetly threw the tissue paper into the rubbish bin and pulled his pants back up. His heart was full of content as he looked at his idol. Autumn Sword Fish Killer was especially happy when he saw Wang Bingyan interacting with Director Hu. At this moment, he saw a familiar Weibo username. Fortune.teller Master Lin. He was especially mad after reading the comment that he had posted. What in the world? Who dares to slander my idol? I'm gonna kill him. Although Autumn Swordfish was only one of the many members of Wang Bingyan's fan club, he had a higher position in real life. He was the chief of the internet trolls. He then mobilized 20,000 men. Autumn Sword Fish Killer said, "All troops. Let's get to the bottom of this comment and make this dog regret his existence." Yes, sir. The chief has spoken. We will give our lives if we must. We have to scroll through everything and make sure we don't miss out on any of them. Autumn Sword Fish Killer is our prince on a white horse, he will lead us to victory and greater heights. As his troops applauded him, Autumn Sword Fish Killer grinned. His plump face was full of satisfaction. At 7 a.m. the next day. What a beautiful day. Lin Fan washed himself up and did the same routine of opening up Weibo. However, one look at the screen and Lin Fan was stunned. **T. Lin Fan's Weibo account had been overrun by the army. His one and only comment on Weibo went viral and had over 1,000 discussions on them. Then, Lin Fan looked at the number of followers that he had. He had lost quite a few followers. That doesn't make any sense. He had so many discussions on his messages, yet not only did he not get more followers, he lost a number of them. Stupid fortune-telling master. Once you're done trolling, you can go and kill yourself. How can you talk about Bing Yan like that? Are you mentally retarded? And you claim to read fortunes. Go read your sister's. Green fields. Open up your dog eyes. Unfollowed. Dumb B***tch. Zhou Li Yun is the nation's most internationally acclaimed supermodel. She's not the one that should be getting out. You should, retard. You're absolutely worthless. Unfollowed. You want red? We'll give you red. We've pushed your posts to the top so that everyone can see how much of a D***ck you are. I'm your bloodshed. Lin Fan calmly batted his eye as he scrolled through the comments. What a rowdy crowd. Then, he went to take a look at his comments. It was no wonder. His comments were pushed to the top and were viewed by hundreds of thousands of Weibo users. What misery. Lin Fan knew that those who opposed his views had lost all their sense of rationality. He didn't want to continue arguing with them. As Lin Fan did not want to give in to them, he wrote another post. Everyone. Let's wait and see if I am indeed speaking the truth. Lin Fan was calm and composed. There was no way his fortune-telling abilities could go wrong. He had absolute confidence in it. We'll see who'll have the last laugh after my predictions come true. Lin Fan chose not to give any attention to whatever was happening on Weibo. He switched off his computer and left for his shop. Today's weather was magnificent and it looked like a good day for business. Chapter 34. I mean it when I say it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations, we've lost on this one. If only you kept the $100,000 yesterday, we could have been enjoying ourselves now. The shop didn't have a single soul. Fraud Tian was lifeless as he said it. I'm the one who lost, you still have a stable salary. I'm not even anxious, so why should you be? Lin Fan saw the people outside walking past. He didn't know what else to say to attract them anymore. Fraud Tian, let me teach you something about fortune telling. Lin Fan casually suggested. That would be great. We can learn from each other to better our skills. Fraud Tian was bored out of his mind. At least some discussion would lighten up the mood. Lin Fan propped himself up. His face brightened up a little. He didn't have many encyclopedic points and they hadn't increased much since he started, especially his fortune-telling knowledge. Only a few people knew about such a discipline. Fraud Tian only half-believed Lin Fan's fortune-telling abilities. At that moment, Lin Fan started to talk. As time went by, Fraud Tian's mood changed. He was indolent at first but as he heard Lin Fan talk, he became more serious and paid close attention. Ding! Explanation fortune-telling knowledge. Tian Hanming has received insight. Encyclopedic points plus 1 inch total encyclopedic points. 13, good, well said, Fraud Tian said as he stretched his legs. He saw Lin Fan's mood light up. Lin Fan gave a huge grin. There's a fortune-telling shop here, a voice came from outside. A middle-aged woman walked in with 2 other people behind her. They didn't notice Lin Fan as they expected the fortune-teller to be someone older. Usually, in the fortune-telling businesses, the older one was, the more popular he would be. Miss, are you here to get your fortune read? Fraud Tian asked warmly and politely. Since the shop opened, there have been a lot of people who walked past the shop but only a few actually walked into the shop. Of course. Why else would I come in? The middle-aged woman sat on the stool, wondering where the fortune-teller was, only to find a young chap sitting opposite her. Are you the fortune-teller? She asked doubtfully. I'm not, but he is. He's Master Lin, owner of this shop. Fraud Tian chuckled as he replied. Oh. The middle-aged woman looked at Lin Fan suspiciously. After all, Lin Fan was indeed really young and they were extremely suspicious. She stood up. Never mind, I don't want my fortune read anymore. For the middle-aged lady, she believed that young people wouldn't have much experience and skill in such a trade. Fraud Tian got anxious as he saw the middle-aged lady getting ready to leave. They hardly had any customers, he could not let her leave so easily. Sister, don't rush to leave yet. Fraud Tian went around the woman, urging her to stay. The middle-aged lady couldn't believe it. Such a young chap doing fortune-telling. What ability did he have? Sister, you're here to ask about your son's marriage right. Lin Fan gave a grin as he calmly sipped his tea. The middle-aged lady stopped in her tracks. How did you know? She exclaimed. What does the sign on the door write? Lin Fan said calmly. For Lin Fan, his boastful attitude was almost undetectable by people, and he pulled it off naturally. Master Lin, the middle-aged lady said to herself, naturally, I can't read your fortune like this. If you want to get a proper reading, you've got to sit down with me. Lin Fan extended his hand. After the lady heard Lin Fan's words, she started to believe him. The middle-aged lady would seek a fortune teller at least 10 times a year. This time, her son was about to get married. She had already sought at least 10 fortune tellers, but all of them said that everything was going to go smoothly and that the bride and groom were a good match. The middle-aged lady was naturally happy, so she started getting busy with the preparations. As she walked past Cloud Street, she saw a fortune-telling shop and she thought that she'd try getting her fortune read again, only to find a young chap claiming to be a fortune teller. That's why she started to have her doubts. So Master Lin, as the middle-aged lady opened her mouth, she was interrupted by Lin Fan. For your son's wedding, you've already seen 15 other fortune tellers, is that right? Lin Fan asked. Ah. You can even read this kind of things, the middle-aged lady was stunned. That is natural for me. Lin Fan was a smooth operator. He did things slowly and calmly. All the 15 of them said the same thing. That everything was going to go well and that the bride and groom were a good match for each other. However, I disagree with them. The saying goes that women are afraid of marrying the wrong person and men are afraid of choosing the wrong job. But men are actually afraid of marrying the wrong person. The middle-aged lady's facial expression changed. She was alarmed and frightened at Lin Fan's words. Master Lin, can you go into more detail? The middle-aged woman sounded a little confused and distraught. I am not at liberty to inform you, however you can go back home and have a try. You'll understand what I'm trying to say, Lin Fan subtly grinned. The middle-aged lady nodded. Although it was barely a few sentences, but whatever Lin Fan said unsettled her, as if something was lodged in her throat. The lady reached into her pocket and took out $100. This was the standard price for fortune-telling in Shanghai. Just as the middle-aged lady was about to leave, Lin Fan made a final comment. Ms. Huang Hongrong, you are our first customer, so we'll gift you a talisman. Also, try to avoid going out the next few days, and if you have any plans, it is best to cancel them, otherwise you might run into some trouble. After saying all that, Lin Fan sat there and relaxed. Ah. How do you know my name? And why would you give me a talisman? Huang Hongrong asked, looking at Lin Fan with surprise. She didn't recall telling Lin Fan her name. I am not at liberty to say these things, maybe it's fate. Lin Fan kept a calm face and didn't say anything after that. Huang Hongrong's heart was unsettled as she left the shop. After she left, Lin Fan took the money and gave it a little shake. Fraud Tian, take your time. Dang. You really read all that from her. She visits fortune-tellers frequently and even she was surprised at your ability. Fraud Tian exclaimed in awe. Yeep. Lin Fan said casually. Wow. Fraud Tian was mesmerized. Lin Fan was a beast. Lin Fan laid down on his chair and watched as people just walked past his shop. His fortune-telling wasn't a scam. Everything was decreed by fate. In the capital, Chen Xine and Luo Dan were both nervous. Their company spent a lot of effort to get them an audition for the soap opera. As the competition was stiff, only those with a certain standard could participate in it. Both of you must work hard. The company used a lot of resources to get this audition slot for you girls, a short-haired girl said. The short-haired girl was wearing formal working attire and she looked professional. Sister Yao, we will work hard for this. Both Chen Xine and Luo Dan nodded their heads. The women around them who were also going for the interview gave them a lot of stress. The makeup on all of the other girls made them look exceptionally beautiful. Chen Xine and Luo Dan only wore light makeup and they felt like they were at a disadvantage. Have faith, tomorrow will be your lucky day. Luo Dan bowed her head and recited that line under her breath. Luo Dan, I thought you said you didn't believe in that. Chen Xine turned her head and looked at Luo Dan. Even if we don't have hope, I still need something to believe in, Luo Dan said. Come on. We can do it. Chen Xine said. Sister Yao just looked at the two of them. She didn't have many high hopes for them as both of them weren't well known and the competition this time was stiff. There were even a few famous stars auditioning. At this point, they could only try. This soap opera was based on the famous author Tao's book, Change. It was set to be a big hit and people would be shot into stardom if they managed to pass the auditions. The people who were auditioning for the role were all big-time actors. They had been personally handpicked by author Tao. Chapter 35. Because she's Teacher Tao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations in the interview. Are you willing to make sacrifices for your career? I'm willing, said the young lady as she nodded. Huang Lu Hao was the director of that movie. He was quite a famous director. Then, he smirked and asked several personal questions. Upon the agreement of the young lady, Huang Lu Hao nodded at her fine appearance and figure, but he had to find out more. Alright, leave your particulars and work experience details behind, we will notify you again. Alright, replied the lady as she left with a coquettish look at Huang Lu Hao as if she was hinting at him to call her anytime. Those chicks that I had just interviewed were not bad. Especially the one with the surname Wang. She had such a round ass. Huh, I can settle them with just one phone call. After I've ked with them, I just have to fit them into some random role in the movies. Huang Lu Hao said. This interview was special, there were only the three of them in the interview room and they were in control the whole time. To Huang Lu Hao, he felt extremely lucky to have successfully bidded for Teacher Tao's novel. Teacher Tao's novels were all critically acclaimed. When her works were transformed into films, they all had extremely good reviews and were very popular. The small actors in the films had all become famous superstars and naturally, the director had also benefited from it in the film industry. But what Huang Lu Hao didn't know was that their words and actions were all being watched. There was a giant mirror on one of the walls in the interview room and there was actually another room behind it. There were people who listened to whatever was happening in the room. Some of them felt disturbed from listening to interview that took place inside. Teacher Tao, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that Huang Lu Hao was this sort of person. If I had known, I wouldn't have recommended him, a man said, looking disturbed. He was an investor in the film, but he did not have much power over making decisions. As long as Teacher Tao mentioned that she wanted to have a movie about her novel, there would be countless investors opting to invest in the film. He only had the opportunity to do so because of his relationship with Teacher Tao. The director he recommended had just asked the actors such disturbing questions. He was extremely embarrassed. Teacher Tao was almost 60 years of age. But she still looked rather young and classy. She interlocked her fingers and just sat there emotionless. But everyone knew that he was furious. He hated those actors that had joined his films through backdooring, even if it was a small role. Teacher Tao, I will immediately fire these three people and arrange for another interview session, one of the investors frantically said. There's no need for that. Teacher Tao replied with a rather unfriendly tone. Next, Chen Xine. Xine, it's your turn. All the best. Luo Dan shook her hand and cheered her on. Okay, Chen Xine took a deep breath and went into the room. Huang Lu Hao and two other people were actually discussing the chicks and when they saw Xine enter the room, they tried to look more serious. Chen Xine told herself to not be too nervous as she entered the room. How are you doing, directors? Chen Xine greeted the three people in the room. Huang Lu Hao was just analyzing her physical appearance. What a masterpiece with a pretty face and good figure. What long and slender legs. Perfect. Huang Lu Hao had thought of something to say and cleared his throat to ask some questions. In the other room. This lady is classy and she matches the role for Lan Yun perfectly. That was the first time Teacher Tao praised someone since the interviews had started. The investors also nodded in agreement, but whether they would be favored for the film, everything depended on Teacher Tao. At this moment, Huang Lu Hao smirked. This film is based on Teacher Tao's novel. You know that, right? Huang Lu Hao asked. Yes, I have read all of his novels. Especially the role of Lan Yun. I have studied it and I feel that I can succeed if I take up this role. Chen Xine said confidently. Teacher Tao nodded after hearing her words and said, this lady is confident, good. Looks like you're confident, but you should know that many of the current big-name actors all rose to fame from acting in films based on Teacher Tao's novels. May I know if you're willing to make some sacrifice for a role? Huang Luhao asked while he secretly wished for Xin Yi's agreement. Chen Xin Yi was taken aback and asked, what sacrifice? You don't know what he meant by sacrifice, the man beside him laughed and replied. Chen Xin Yi understood their intentions and shook her head. No, I can't agree to that. Huang Luhao was a little unhappy and he said, you should know that with this small sacrifice, you would be able to take on a bigger role. In future, you would have more opportunities to become famous in the entertainment industry. With such intense competition in the industry, do you think you'd be able to get your dream role without any sacrifice? We will give you some time to consider. Chen Xin knew that it was difficult for her to get her dream role and it would require some form of sacrifice. But she did not expect to face such a situation. Then, Chen Xin suddenly thought of a phrase that she strongly believed in, stick firmly to the convictions of your heart and luck will come your way. Sorry, then I may not be suitable for this role. Chen Xin replied without any hesitation and left the room. For someone like you, you deserve to stay as a small actor forever. Huang Luhao pointed at Chen Xin and said. Then, he threw her stack of particulars and resumed into the bin. Chen Xin stared at the bin, took a deep breath and left the room. She was heartbroken. This lady is decent, let me see her details. Teacher Tao unexpectedly smiled and said as she took the papers over from an investor. But Chen Xin hated what Huang Luhao did. Xin, how did it go? Luo Dan asked nervously. Chen Xin just nodded and said, I guess it was alright. She wanted to continue the conversation with Luo Dan but. Next, Luo Dan. Xin, I'll head inside first. Luo Dan interrupted and went into the room. Suddenly, a commotion could be heard. Luo Dan kicked the door and shouted, you think you can take advantage of me just based on this? Where the f*ck your morals? Do you think you can hide the truth from the masses? Do you think I would starve to death if I didn't get a role in this film? Then, Chen Xin immediately went forward and said, Luo Dan, Xin, let's go. What a lousy director with all his nonsense. He even tried to take advantage of us. Luo Dan shouted and scolded. The others who heard her also walked over. What is wrong with you? You're not suitable for the role and you're maligning us. I want to see which company you're from. Huang Luhao didn't expect her to be that hot-tempered and to create such a big fuss. Sister Tao panicked when she saw what had happened and said, Luo Dan, shut up. Then, she repeatedly half-bowed to Huang Luhao and apologized. Director Huang, don't be angry. Oh, so it's Tianming Entertainment Group. Let me tell you that your company will not get a single role in this film. Nice, nice. I like these two ladies. Teacher Tao happily stood up and said in admiration of Chen Xin and Luo Dan. And I do not want these three perverts to be handling my work. Teacher Tao was very firm about it and naturally, the investors didn't dare to defy her words. For a normal person, the investors were the one making the decisions. But it wasn't the case this time. All because the person in front of them was Teacher Tao. Chapter 36. Unfathomable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The first customer was a source of motivation for both Lin Fan and Fraud Tian. Lin Fan stirred his tea slowly and patiently as he was deep in thought. The introduction of the encyclopedia into his life was so sudden, he was caught unprepared. He admitted that there was such a huge change in his life after he had received it regardless of what else it was going to bring. To make heavenly scallion pancakes. It used to be impossible for him. For Lin Fan to be a pin-point accurate fortune teller, it was something that he had never thought of before. Lin Fan had also never expected to be able to own his own storefront in such a short time. His final conclusion was that the encyclopedia was doing more good than bad. Lin Fan had also concluded that it wasn't even important anymore to judge if the encyclopedia was good or bad. Most people won't get to live more than 100 years of age, and to encounter something like the encyclopedia, it was like playing a game. Every second and minute was full of surprises, and it was something that he would have never experienced before without the encyclopedia. Little boss. Then, a deep voice could be heard. Lin Fan turned to look and smiled as he placed his teacup down and stood up to him. What brought you here today, Chief Lu? I am here to give out a prize. Chief Lu happily said as he stood at the entrance of Lin Fan's stall. He took a close look at Lin Fan's signboard. Indeed, it's the reputable Master Lin. Lu Xiaotian happily said. He was in a good mood that day. The Qin Chuan case was finally solved, and it helped to lighten the burden of Lu Xiaotian. The management had given their word that if the Qin Chuan case was to be unresolved in 7 days, the relevant officers would have to resign so that others who are more capable could take on the roles. It was no surprise that Lu Xiaotian was so thankful for Lin Fan. You're flattering me, Chief Lu, Lin Fan said politely. Lu Xiaotian was considered to be Lin Fan's first respectable believer. If not for Chief Lu's help in processing his license to run a scallion pancake stall, he would not have been able to set up his shop so easily. Lin Fan didn't know if he had saved Chief Lu's life or was it the other way around. Little boss. I mean, Master Lin, this is for you. Lu Xiaotian handed a nicely packaged flag over to Lin Fan the moment he stepped into the stall. Lin Fan opened the package and looked into it. Good Citizen Award. There was even an honorary certificate which amused Lin Fan. Master Lin, it was all because of you. If not for your guidance, it would have been impossible to successfully arrest Qin Chuan. Lu Xiaotian said with gratification. To Lu Xiaotian, Master Lin had saved his entire career. It's just something small, don't mention it. Lin Fan said casually. This is the monetary reward for you, $30,000. Lu Xiaotian took out a silver credit card and handed it over to Lin Fan. Then, he patted him on his back and said, because of the responsibilities that I had, I couldn't tell them everything that happened. So I just told them that you've seen Qin Chuan before. Understood, Lin Fan replied. After all, Lu Xiaotian was a civil servant. If the report was to mention that the fortune teller had predicted the location of Qin Chuan, perhaps he would have been reprimanded instead. But I really believed in you. The colleagues whom I had worked with were also full of admiration. Lu Xiaotian said. Chief Lu, you just gotta believe in some things. I saw that you were honest and sincere. As long as you don't do anything that would cause you to feel guilty, you have a bright future ahead of you. Lin Fan looked at Lu Xiaotian closely and said firmly to him. Although Lu Xiaotian was rather old, he was full of experience, and that was precisely his trump card. Thank you for your kind words, may I have a word with you? Chief Lu looked around and whispered softly. Of course, go ahead, Lin Fan replied. I told my superior the truth about you and he really believed in what I had said. He pleaded me to let you have a look at him, Lu Xiaotian whispered again. It was the kind of thing that could not be made known to everyone. If not, people would be laughing their ass off. This is his birth 8 characters, Lu Xiaotian said as he passed a piece of paper to Lin Fan. Oh, looks like he knows a little about fortune telling too, Lin Fan smiled and said. Lu Xiaotian just laughed and didn't say much. Nowadays, people who say that they don't believe in this sort of things would still have things checked by a fortune teller just for a peace of mind. Lin Fan held the paper in his hands and studied it carefully. Then he looked at Lu Xiaotian and asked, Chief Lu, actually I have to look at the person physically in order to make a judgment. For those with no affinity, I wouldn't even take a look at them. But since you have helped me so much, I won't make things difficult for you. I'll just leave you with a sentence. If he believes in it, it's fate, if not, it's destiny. Master Lin, thank you so much, Lu Xiaotian said. Lin Fan took a pen and a piece of paper from his table and wrote another sentence. Follow your heart. When Lu Xiaotian saw what was written on the piece of paper, he was stunned. Master Lin, just one sentence. Take it back and pass it to him and he will understand, Lin Fan smiled and replied. Are you sure you don't want to add a few more sentences? Lu Xiaotian felt that it was too little. Usually, fortune tellers would write a few paragraphs. He was afraid that his superior would be angry if he was to bring back just one sentence. There's no need for that. Do you trust me, Chief Lu? Lin Fan said. Chief Lu looked at Lin Fan and just nodded. He said, all right, I'll listen to you. If I were to get scolded, I will come back for you. Also, here's some money for your fortune telling. Lin Fan saw 2 pieces of red bank notes and quickly accepted them without saying much. I still have work to do, I got to go. Please contact me if you need any help in future, Lu Xiaotian said. Alright, no problem. Lin Fan said as he waved goodbye to him. When Chief Lu had left, Fraud Tian walked forward and held the flag in his hands. He observed it for a while, looked at Lin Fan and said, when did you become a good citizen again? Plus, there's still $30,000. Lin Fan kept the card, smiled and said, why can't I be a good citizen? Didn't you hear that? Just a simple judgment from me and I've earned myself $30,000. That's how you make money. How could it be compared to the $200? Chief Lu went back to his office and passed the piece of paper to his superior. Liang Yong saw the piece of paper and was puzzled. Follow your heart. Liang Yong was extremely happy with the closing of the Qin Chuan case and he decided to ask Chief Lu for the truth. At first, Lu Xiaotian wanted to hide it from him, but he still decided to tell him everything. After he understood what had happened, he was a little interested and so he asked Lu Xiaotian to get help from Lin Fan on behalf of him. The content written on the piece of paper really made Liang Yong sink into deep thought. Then, Liang Yong suddenly understood everything. To Lin Fan, Chief Lu's superior was just considered to be someone random on the streets. Chapter 37. Let the news spread. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The shop didn't have any business. Lin Fan casually browsed through his Weibo, which had been bombarded with hateful messages. But he wasn't bothered by it as if nothing was wrong. The more vicious the insults, the more shocking it would be in the end. Please carry on with your performance. At this moment, Lin Fan noticed that Fraud Tian was just sitting there rotating his wrists as if he was practicing martial arts. To Lin Fan, this Fraud Tian was just acting like a pretentious prick. What are you doing, Fraud? Asked Lin Fan. Practicing martial arts, Fraud Tian answered without looking. His face was stern, and he looked very different from usual. You. Lin Fan couldn't believe it. What a load of bullsh*t. Why would this fraud be practicing martial arts? Fraud Tian smiled smugly and then he ceased his martial arts practice. The 13th Tian is here. Just as Lin Fan was about to say something, a little boy looked in sneakily from outside the window. He mustered up his courage and walked into the shop. Boss, I want a fortune reading. The boy looked 11 or 12 years old. What do you want to know? Lin Fan inquired with a smile. I have an exam tomorrow and I want to cheat. I want to know whether I would get caught, explained the boy. Lin Fan was surprised as he did not expect that, but since it was just a small matter, he decided to give it a shot. Boss, will I really get caught? Lin Fan had read the boy's fortune but the result only made the boy more anxious. Of course, if you don't believe me, just try it tomorrow, answered Lin Fan with a chuckle. The little boy sighed, looks like I'll come in last again. The little boy then took out $50 from his pocket and placed it on the counter. Keep the money, kid. This reading is free. When Lin Fan saw the $50, he was shocked for a moment. What a rich kid. The little boy waved his hand, I don't need it. It's just a small amount. Lin Fan stared blankly as the little boy walked away. After a moment, he started laughing to himself. Kids these days sure have a lot of money. Why don't we go and set up our stall at the primary school entrance? It's a good place to scam money, Fraud Tian suggested. What a great idea, Lin Fan remarked sarcastically as he rolled his eyes. It was night time. Chen Xine and Luo Dan went out for a feast to celebrate, and when they got home, they were still ecstatic. Especially Luo Dan, who couldn't contain her excitement. Xine, today was such an impactful day for me. At first, when I started arguing with that director, I was prepared to get punished by the company and forget my dream of becoming a star. Luo Dan never thought that there would be such a great change of events. This interview was very important as the company had gone through a lot of trouble to arrange it. When she couldn't control her emotions and started quarreling with the director, she had already prepared herself for the worst. But who would have thought that everything was seen by Teacher Tao? Right now, that memory was still fresh in her mind and she couldn't forget it even if she wanted to. Listen, Xine, Huang Lu Hao's face turned white when Teacher Tao came. Especially when Teacher Tao pointed her finger at him, it was so intimidating, recounted Luo Han enthusiastically. She even started to imitate Teacher Tao. Huang Lu Hao, get out of my sight now. My novel doesn't need scum like you to have any involvement in it. Luo Dan raised her finger, imitating Teacher Tao's tone and expressions. Alright, Luo Dan. Teacher Tao saw potential in us with one look, we can be main actors in the future, said Chen Xine. But I can't accept it, you're acting as the main female character, while I'm second. I'm naturally gorgeous and full of passion. How could I be suppressed by an evil woman like you? Luo Dan said jokingly. What are you talking about? You've been eating and drinking the whole night while I've been paying the bills. Also, didn't Teacher Tao already say this? Your personality is most suited to the secondary female character, said Chen Xine. Ah, success or failure all depends on one's nature. Why must my personality be similar to the secondary female characters? If only it was the main female character instead, Luo Dan said pitifully, as if she had been treated unfairly. That's all up to God's will and there's nothing you can do about it, said Chen Xine. Suddenly, Chen Xine jolted up abruptly. What are you doing, Xine? You nearly scared me to death. Luo Dan nearly jumped up in response. Master Lin, Chen Xine said in a serious tone. And without waiting for a reply, she took out her phone and opened Master Lin's Weibo. Just as Xine was thinking about expressing her gratitude to Master Lin, she was momentarily stunned. Luo Dan, look. What's the matter? But honestly, Master Lin's predictions are really accurate. When Luo Dan saw Master Lin's Weibo, her voice suddenly choked and she cried out in astonishment. The little white rabbit jumped out from the front of her chest. Damn, what kind of outrageous things must Master Lin have done for his Weibo to be attacked by people like this? Luo Dan didn't care about anything else and only focused on the comments on Master Lin's Weibo. Let me see. Xine, I found it. It turns out Master Lin left comments on many famous celebrities' pages. Moreover, all of his comments have been flagged. Look, this football star is flaming Master Lin, this Zhou Li Yun is the headliner for China Fashion Week. She reported Master Lin's comment as well, and it's currently being processed. Chen Xine and Luo Dan glanced at each other, with expressions of astonishment on both of their faces, just how many people's fortunes had Master Lin read. Especially this incident about Qin Yufan being cheated on. Isn't that just asking for it? He would get scolded for sure. The two of them were lost for words. Chen Xine had initially wanted to thank Master Lin, but the current situation was way beyond her expectation. Xine, the circumstances don't seem right. If you were to leave a comment thanking Master Lin now, you would get flamed for sure. We can send him a private message instead. Luo Dan said. Alright, Chen Xine nodded in agreement. On the internet, you could do almost anything you wanted, but one thing you mustn't do is to enrage the masses of internet users. Although Chen Xine felt that Master Lin's predictions seemed like they were exaggerated to scare people, somehow she still believed that they were true. In the house, Lin Fan was looking through Weibo. He had been the topic of discussion on Weibo for the whole day. Some guy with the username Autumn Sword Fish Killer was especially vicious with his comments about him. Private messages. Autumn Sword Fish Killer. Dumba *S Master, Iats have a fight. I'll show you my strength, you Dumba *S. Autumn Sword Fish Killer. I'm telling you that everyone knows about you now. From today onwards, your Weibo is dead. Autumn Sword Fish Killer. There's only one possible result if you challenge me. That is, you'll die a horrible death. Autumn Sword Fish Killer had sent him a total of 30 private messages. Lin Fan couldn't resist much longer and he wanted to retaliate. But he decided to tolerate it for a little longer. The more he cared about it, the more insults he would receive. He would receive even more insults if he had cared more about it. But if this bloke appears before me, I'll send a fist flying towards him and beat him up till he goes home crying to his mother. Ding, another message came in. Lin Fan thought it was another hateful message, but when he clicked on it, he smiled. Master Lin, thank you so much. Today's interview was a huge success. If possible, could you add me on WeChat? Lin Fan. Sure thing. SpongeBob Kawaii Pants. WeChat number G06XXXXXX. Lin Fan memorized the number. He closed Weibo, and opened WeChat, then he keyed in the number. A SpongeBob SquarePants icon appeared. When he sent the request, it was accepted within 3 seconds. Chen Xine. Master Lin. Lin Fan, yep. Chen Xine. Master, your reading was really accurate. Thank you so much, both my best friend and I passed. To Chen Xine, a master diviner had to be very old to be able to make such accurate readings, but when she was browsing through Lin Fan's moments, she was startled. She screenshotted the image. Chen Xine. Master Lin, you're this young. Lin Fan. Yep. Lin Fan was acting like an aloof Prince Charming. He was conserving his words as if they were gold. However, he then thought that it wasn't good to act so aloof, so he added a sentence. Lin Fan. Even if you hadn't asked, both of you would still have passed. It's fate. Chen Xine and her best friend lay on the bed as they stared at Lin Fan's photo. This Master Lin is so young, and he's rather handsome too. But he replies with, yep, every time as if our beautiful Xine can't even move his heart. Don't speak nonsense, Master Lin is a noble man. However, his Weibo situation is rather scary. Why don't we ask him about it? Chen Xine asked. She proceeded to send him a message. Master Lin, your Weibo. Lin Fan. No worries. Let the news spread. Chen Xine. Chapter 38. Our Savior Indeed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The conversation with Chen Xine ended quickly. In their hearts, Lin Fan was just a fortune teller. Furthermore, they had no mutual friends at all, so there wasn't much to chat about. But what really annoyed Lin Fan was that young lady, Hua Han from Youth Arts magazine publisher. She harassed Lin Fan every day with her messages. Hello, X20 messages, please reply me. Little boss X15 messages, I want to eat scallion pancakes, I want to eat scallion pancakes. X50 messages. Han's tenacity almost moved Lin Fan, but Lin Fan had already decided to stop selling scallion pancakes, so it was all in vain. He ignored her completely. Lin Fan opened his shop punctually every day. Although there weren't many customers, he believed that he would eventually strike gold and become rich. All he needed was a spark to set his fortune-telling business on fire. He had one or two occasional customers in a day, but they usually didn't have much to ask. Most of them just wanted a simple reading. There wasn't anything significant in their lives. For days later, Lin Fan was calmly sitting in his shop and he was just idling in it. Fraud Tian was nearly bored to death. However, the staff from some of the neighboring shops had been observing Lin Fan's fortune-telling shop. One of them was the clothing shop opposite his shop. This fortune-telling shop has been open for a few days already. I've been counting, and the number of customers that have entered didn't exceed 10. Who knows if it will even survive through the month? I think it's hopeless. It might even close down within the next few days. I don't get it at all. In this age, who even spends so much on rent, just to open up a fortune-telling shop? In my old neighborhood, people only did fortune-telling in their own homes. Lin Fan was indifferent towards all their criticism. On the other hand, Fraud Tian couldn't tolerate it. The last time someone criticized them to their faces, Fraud Tian engaged in a heated debate with him. But Lin Fan didn't stop him since there was nothing to do each day. Finding someone to bicker with was not a bad idea after all. Suddenly, a commotion could be heard from outside. Lin Fan raised his head slightly and then he lowered his head again without being bothered by what was happening. Recently, Lin Fan had been playing a game on his phone and he was quite engrossed in it. However, his phone was getting old and it was about time to get a replacement. Fraud Tian loved it when there was commotion going on. He stood at the shop's entrance and looked outside. Ha! That's weird. Who would put such an obnoxious signboard? Afterlife fortune-telling. That huge signboard was being carried by two people. It had captured the citizens' attention, especially because of those words on it. Master Lin. Master Lin. At this moment, a middle-aged woman started shouting. Her tone was filled with gratitude. Lin Fan, those people are coming towards us. Fraud Tian heard her and he cried out in shock. Lin Fan was puzzled. Wondering why was there such a huge commotion all of a sudden, after such a quiet and peaceful day. When that middle-aged woman appeared at the entrance, Lin Fan finally put down his phone and asked in a surprised tone, Madam Huang, what's going on? Master Lin, you're a living god. Huang Hongrong stepped forward and held his hand, then exclaimed. Huang Hongrong had two men by her side. One was close to her age, while the other was a young man, roughly the same age as Lin Fan. The two of them looked at Lin Fan with uncertainty written on their faces. The citizens who were passing by heard the commotion and naturally became curious. They crowded around Lin Fan's shop entrance and peered inside, but they had no idea what was going on. Master Lin, this is my husband and this is my son. Our family of 3 is here today to thank you, Huang Hongrong said sincerely. Madam Huang, there's no need to be so grand about it, Lin Fan said bluntly as if he wasn't touched at all. Fraud Tian looked over at Lin Fan with his eyes and mouth wide open. What the heck was going on now? Suddenly, Fraud Tian remembered Madam Huang. The other day when she had her fortune read, nothing significant was said other than that their marriage was not suited. Even if that reading was true, it didn't warrant such a grand thank you. No, Master Lin, you are our family's savior, Madam Huang said, if it wasn't for you, the 3 of us wouldn't be alive. When Madam Huang left the shop that day, she rushed home and discussed with her husband. They decided to do a check on their would.be.or.in.law, and it turned out that the prediction was true. She was found to have terminal cancer. They would have had to sell their apartment just to pay for her treatment fees, but unexpectedly, she passed away the next day. Madame Huang's son was in grief, so her husband went online and booked a vacation with a travel agency to bring their son out to forget his sorrows. At that time, Madame Huang also agreed that they should bring their son out, but then she suddenly recalled Master Lin's words. The first incident that Master Lin predicted happened way too accurately. That's why Huang Hongrong didn't doubt him anymore. She told her husband to cancel the trip and stay put at home. At first, her husband and son were doubtful of what she was saying. In the end, they gave in after Huang Hongrong's persistent persuasion and cancelled the trip. Afterwards, the travel agency called a few times, but Huang Hongrong ignored them. Just a days ago, her husband was watching the news and saw that an incident had happened with the travel agency he booked with. A number of people died as a result. He was dumbfounded when he saw this. After this incident, Huang Hongrong's husband kept on mumbling to himself, "We're lucky, we're so lucky." Huang Hongrong even shed tears of gratitude towards Lin Fan, as if he was a living god who had descended onto earth. So, they decided to pack their things and come over to thank their savior the very next day. "Master Lin, I can't thank you enough, I really can't thank you enough," Huang Hongrong repeated over and over again. By now, her husband had started to thank Lin Fan as well. The incident was still fresh in his mind and it frightened him whenever he thought about it. Lin Fan calmly shook their hand, but he was also extremely surprised. This involved their lives. As for those who were met with death, Lin Fan was helpless. He wasn't some savior, he was just a fortune teller. Lin Fan could only feel sorry for them. The crowd of citizens surrounding them were confused and wasn't sure what to make of this. "What exactly are you talking about? How is this fortune teller your savior?" Huang Hongrong proceeded to explain the happenings to them. When the crowd heard what she said, they were in disbelief. "Damn! Are you sure you aren't making this up? Sounds unreal, are you trying to bluff us?" Some of the spectators started to get angry. "Are you for real? Using this incident to bluff us?" "That's right. How can he be so accurate? This is definitely some scam. Report them, we have to report them. What afterlife fortune teller? You have no integrity at all. I want to give all of you 2 big slaps." Those angry citizens suddenly exploded with rage. People these days have a very strong sense of justice, especially with incidents like these where lives were lost. To make use of others' sorrowful incidents to scam people, made other people feel that he was very heartless. Lin Fan was speechless, he didn't think that something like this would happen. Now, everyone was pissed. However, Huang Hongrong couldn't let Master Lin be misunderstood like that. "Everyone please calm down. Our family is really not bluffing you. Look, this is the evidence." Huang Hongrong grabbed her husband's phone, opened the trip cancellation message and displayed it to the crowd. When those angry citizens saw the phone, they went totally silent. Holy sh**t. The crowd's eyes all fixated on Lin Fan. Chapter 39. It's all falling into place. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. On the screen of the Apple iPhone, a page attracted the attention of many people. Its content was clearly stated. Travel recommendations, the time needed for withdrawal from the clubs, everything was there. Huang Hongrong let everyone take a look at his phone and said, "Look, it's true. It's not a scam." He was frightened the moment he thought of it. Luckily his wife had found a true master which helped him to avoid the disaster. The residents looked at each other in disbelief. Right from the start, they did not believe in him and they were even furious about it. They felt that these people using the incident to hype the media were just too much. But when they saw the message on their phones about the withdrawal, they were dumbfounded. It can't be, how can it be that unlucky? If he had really predicted it, it would be insane. Then, the crowd looked at Lin Fan, they all thought that it was too magical. Especially after seeing the message, they could confirm that it was indeed true. Lo Fraud Tian was just at the side minding his own business. He finally understood what was going on. Fraud Tian was speechless. An unsuccessful marriage. Do not go overseas as it would be disastrous. Everything had already been predicted. To Fraud Tian, that made him believe in everything. Master Lin, our family wants to thank you once again. Huang Hongrong's family of 3 stood before Lin Fan and bowed, expressing their gratitude towards Lin Fan. You're welcome, you're welcome. If you believe in my words, then you'll be able to change your fate. If not, you would never have avoided it, Lin Fan said calmly. Indeed, it felt great when everyone had treated him like a god. Master Lin, please accept this board as our gift. Huang Hongrong said. Alright, alright. Lin Fan just accepted it, he did not waste time arguing about it. When Huang Hongrong's family was about to leave, he immediately stuffed a red packet into Lin Fan, which contained $10,000. Lin Fan naturally tried to reject it, but after Huang Hongrong's persistence, he just forced himself to keep it. When he had sent the family out of his stall, he noticed that the crowd at the entrance was still there. Looks like it really isn't a scam, want to try it with me? Master Lin, please help to take a look at me. The crowd was still doubtful of everything that had happened, but internally, they had some form of belief. Everyone, please don't rush. One by one, please. Lin Fan did not expect the overwhelming reaction. In a split second, he became extremely busy. Fraud Tian was also happy with the business they were doing. They were having such a good time as compared to the past few days which had little business. If it continued to be like that, they were bound to be rich. The Master Lin stall had long streams of customers and the shop owners opposite were all curious. They were busy all morning and only after the last customer had left the stall could Lin Fan finally take a break. Fraud Tian was busy counting money and he was also exhausted but he was extremely happy. How good was I? Lin Fan lay on the bench asking while he sipped his tea. Nothing short of a pro. Fraud Tian was full of praises. The wave of customers in the morning had earned us over $2,000. If it was like that every day, we're going to be rich. Fraud, if it was like that every day, I would be so damn exhausted. Lin Fan rolled his eyes and said. He didn't say anything else as his mouth was dry from all the talking he had done in the morning. Hee. Fraud Tian smiled despicably then said, it's okay to work harder, we'll just earn more. This old fraud has conned so many people but at least he has some plans in mind to work hard. Lin Fan curled his lips and said, wait for a few days for some things to happen, then we will have to lay some ground rules. If it's going to be like that in future, I'll die of exhaustion. What ground rules? Fraud Tian asked curiously. Lin Fan just smiled mysteriously and said, you'll understand when the time comes. Some of the residents posted online and told their friends about what had happened that morning. It's all true, the fortune teller helped a family of 3 to avoid a disaster. There were various different titles which attracted the attention of many people. It even went viral on the internet. But some people were still skeptical. He's just trying to con people. Just one look and I could tell that this fortune teller is a conman. Whoever believes in this sort of thing is an idiot. It's hard to judge if there was such a god like fortune teller. Although the content on the phone was blurred it was still visible. The family of 3 was indeed lucky. Regarding these things, Lin Fan was naturally unclear of what was going on. But the impact wasn't great. He was basically just reading it for fun. Then, Lin Fan used his phone to look at some entertainment news. A particular headline stood out to Lin Fan and made him laugh. International model, Zhou Liyun rolled down a flight of stairs and injured her leg. Zhou Liyun says goodbye to her involvement in the Fashion Week. Zhou Liyun wasn't considered to be a superstar in the country, but she was quite famous in the international modeling scene, with a large fan base. Especially since she had such a beautiful outer appearance and a nice figure, she was a goddess in countless men's eyes. Many people in the modeling industry felt that the incident was a pity, after reading the news. This particular fashion show was something special. It was large-scale and influential, compared to the others. Many had left comments on the news article. Damn it! What a waste! It was fated. I wonder how Zhou Liyun is feeling right now. Fated my ass, it was predicted by the great master. Okay. Ben Hu Xin just wanted to ask if the great master was looking for any disciples. No affinity, indeed. Zhou Liyun must be filled with regret. If she had known, she would have found out why she was dissuaded from going previously. Master, I was wrong, I will never flame you again. Please just leave the lottery numbers for next week. I went through the great master's Weibo and saw that there were numerous predictions and one of them was regarding Zhou Liyun. Let's go, quickly subscribe to Master Lin's Weibo. From now on, I am a fanboy of Master Lin. Lin Fan was amused after reading the news. It wasn't the right time yet. He had to let the news spread first before everything was to come true and create a big disaster. Fraud Tian just sat there and trembled at the way Lin Fan was smiling creepily to himself. Chapter 40. I will fight you to death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. At some hospital ward. A shapely and tall woman was lying on the white hospital bed with a large and thick cast on her right leg. Sister Yun, don't think too much. There will always be another opportunity, her agent tried to console her. The accident was just down to bad luck. Rolling down from the stairs was already bad enough, and to have fractured a leg made it even worse. With the huge cast on her right leg, it made it extremely difficult for her to move around, destroying any hopes of making it to the fashion show. Zhou Liyun just lied there with tears streaming down her straight face. She had been preparing for the fashion show for quite some time and it had all gone to waste in a moment of folly. Sister Yun, her agent hurriedly passed her paper towels, without knowing how to console her. Suddenly, Zhou Liyun said, "Pass my phone to me." The agent did not know what was going on but just handed her phone over. All that was in Zhou Liyun's mind was that Weibo text. When she had opened the app, the first thing she saw was, "You can't make it there. You can't make it there." Zhou Liyun knew about this Weibo text long ago. When she had first seen it, she did not think much of it. Naturally, she was unhappy about it and went to archive it. But when the accident really happened, Zhou Liyun cried. The agent saw the message on Weibo and tried to console her by saying, "Sister Yun, it must be blind luck, you can't believe in it." Zhou Liyun shook her head in response. You gotta believe in these things sometimes. She had known that this Master Lin had left a message on many superstars' Weibo, but the first person to experience something negative was actually her. She was afraid other unlucky occurrences. It must have been Bei Li's foul mouth. Meanwhile, at a random house, Luo Dan was shocked and said, "Xine, look at this article." Master Lin had predicted Zhou Liyun's absence at the upcoming fashion show. Chen Xine was actually looking at her script, but when she had heard the news about Master Lin, she immediately put down her treasured script and snatched her phone over to read the article. As she scrolled further, her mouth widened bigger. He really predicted it. Master Lin is so scary. Chen Xine said in disbelief. It's not scary, it's God-like. Luo Dan said in disbelief as well. Ever since that incident, they were both labeled as Actress 1 and Actress 2. Also, Teacher Tao's straightforward and direct working style made it such that when everything was fully prepared, they would immediately start filming. Go take a look at Master Lin's Weibo. Those netizens that were scolding Master Lin must all be speechless now. Chen Xine said. I already went to have a look. Master Lin is really a pro. He just lets them scold him and then goes on to prove people wrong with his actions. Night time. Lin Fan came home from the stall and lied down on his bed while playing with his phone. Huh, now you know the power of Master Lin. Lin Fan said as he looked at his Weibo and smiled as if he had known this was going to happen. Zhou Liyun's incident was the first of many to come. It would become more exciting as the others come true as well. Meanwhile in the Weibo app. Master Lin, you're indeed God. Like. I believe you now. Master Lin, please help me out as well. Where did the haters go? What else can you say? To the guy above, looks like you're the fiercest here. Asterisk coughs asterisk, staying low. Key. Autumn Sword Fish Killer recently had a large scale activity which involved writing for a superstar. This had caused many netizens to discuss it throughout the internet. It was well liked by many people and was considered to be one of the best pieces of work he's done. Some of the netizens actually tried to challenge Autumn Sword Fish Killer. They are indeed fearless. When he had wanted to reward some of the netizens, he was taken aback by their discussion. Bad news, we've gotten smacked right in the face. Master Lin was right, Zhou Liyun is injured and as a result, couldn't go for the fashion show. What the fuck, are you serious? Out of anger, I've written a few hundred bad comments on that guy's Weibo. Quick, tell Brother Autumn Sword, he has to know about this. We have contacted him. Look, Brother Autumn Sword is online. When Autumn Sword Fish Killer had read the messages, his big sized body was fuming in anger. He involuntarily bit his fingernails of the hand that had been touching his feet. He had predicted it correctly. Now they're all cocky. But I am Autumn Sword Fish Killer, I have the power to change it all. I already know about this. Now, we have a mission. We have to put an end to all the discussions about Master Lin. If not, how can the Autumn Sword Army fight back from this? Autumn Sword Fish Killer immediately said. Follow the handsome Brother Autumn Sword. Let's begin the battle, to put an end to Master Lin's Weibo. In an instant, countless netizens flooded Lin Fan's Weibo. It's just blind luck, as for Zhou Liyun's leg, she was already injured. No big deal. He just managed to predict one event correctly, what about the remaining ones? What the person above said is very true. Logical, perhaps he really guessed blindly. Lin Fan was actually looking at the haters repenting on his Weibo. But he realized that something was wrong. His Weibo was being taken over again. Then, someone messaged him privately. Lin Fan was furious when he took a look at it. Autumn Sword Fish Killer said, how is it, my Master Lin? My swordfish army is strong, right? Let me tell you, as long as I'm here, your Weibo will never be the same again. Retarded, Lin Fan replied instantly. When Autumn Sword Fish Killer saw his reply, he got even angrier. Autumn Sword was so angry that he had activated all his fanboys to oppress Lin Fan's Weibo. It became a lasting battle for the fanboys. Then, Lin Fan replied with another message and he also sent out a screenshot of Autumn Sword Fish Killer's private message. Just wait and see, hello to all the fanboys out there. In an instant, the Weibo text got countless comments. Lin Fan's fan base on Weibo had increased up to 10,000 people. To Lin Fan, it was a tremendous improvement. When Autumn Sword Fish Killer saw the Weibo text, he exploded with rage. F***ck, how dare you go against me? I swear I will do everything I can till you die. Crashing sound just when Autumn Sword Fish Killer was raging, the stool that he was sitting on had broken due to his oversized body. He fell but first onto the ground. The large impact caused squeezed something out from his body. Damn it. The next day, something happened which shocked everyone. Lin Fan was in his stall when he read the news. He just laughed it off as if it did not bother him at all. But for those netizens had been watching Lin Fan's Weibo closely, it was more than a piece of shocking news.